encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network. If you want to be a serious Bible student, a successful servant, and a powerful preacher, this is the podcast for you. Hello and welcome to Preachers in Training. My name is Robert Hatfield, and this is the podcast on which we discuss all things preaching and ministry. I want to welcome you to Season 16, Episode 4 today, on which we're highlighting a really neat event that's coming up really soon. I want you to know about it. Here to help us know more about this and to discuss this that's upcoming is Josh Ketchum, Associate Professor of Bible. Is that the official title? Assistant. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. No,
I don't know if I gave you an upgrade or a downgrade.
You gave me an upgrade.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We'll go back down.
Okay. I don't know all these academic
I still have to
terms.
remind myself of that.
Yeah?
That it's assistant.
Assistant.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just about promotion and working
Sure.
there. I need to be there about 5 years, I think, before I can even have that associate title.
Academic
possibility.
hierarchy.
Yes.
Right. Okay. At Freed-Hardeman University, I should say.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And
Welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate the honor of being on the podcast again. Appreciate all the work you do in podcasting and with the church
Thanks.
here at Henderson.
Yeah, well, it's exciting. It's great to be in this area, and for many reasons, not the least of which is a lot of opportunities the university provides. And I'm excited to hear about a church leadership workshop that is coming really soon. The theme this year is Restore, September 30th through October 2nd, sponsored by the Center for Excellence in Spiritual Leadership at Freed-Hardeman University, and it's going to be held at Mid-South Youth Camp. There's a lot to unpack in what I just said
Yes.
there.
Yes. I thought we were going to be able to talk about this for a few minutes.
That's right. Let's start with this Center for Excellence in Spiritual Leadership. We were just talking before we hit the record button. I didn't know that this existed at Freed-Hardeman. I'm really excited to hear that it does. Tell us a little more about that.
Yes, Robert, you're not alone, and most people probably did not know it existed. I worked there for a long time and did not know, or for a year and did not know it existed. So, and that's the point. We're trying to get it out, let people know that it does exist. And so we received some money, a donation several years ago, to provide this, and the desire was to provide something for spiritual leadership to bless church leaders. And so this has helped provide the funds for the church leadership workshop that has happened for several years. It was started several years ago by Dr. Kirk Brothers when he was at Freed-Hardeman, and it traditionally has happened right after lectureship.
Okay.
And it was in Ayers Auditorium in that area, and was very successful and went well, but it also maybe didn't have a lot of some people may not have known about it because it happened right after lectureship. And
it's kind of like the Friday and Saturday after lectureship week.
Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes there was a little fatigue associated with that too. I mean, we're all lectureship tired.
We're all lectureship tired, and that's definitely the case. And so it had kind of its own niche, and it went well. And then 2020 hit, and it lost a year or two, and so that affected it. And so this last year, it happened, but our attendance was down, and so we got to looking at making some changes.
Good.
And so has led to the church leadership workshop that we're going to talk about. But let's finish talking about this Center for Excellence in Spiritual Leadership. So this provides the funds for this workshop that's happened for several years. And so the meals are covered, the speakers are covered, everything is covered by
That's
it.
something.
And so we've been very blessed with it. And so we're trying to expand this and let people know that this Center for Excellence in Spiritual Leadership exists. And hopefully we're going to have things that go throughout the year besides just this one-time event. Some resources, hopefully with some articles, and hopefully maybe even a podcast in the future where we talk about leadership topics.
Yes.
So we got some ideas that we would hopefully be able to do in the future with this Center for Excellence in Spiritual Leadership as a resource to the church. And its keynote aspect, the keystone aspect of this ministry, we want to be this church leadership workshop, which has happened and which this year is going to happen in a new way. So it's got a new date and a new location. It's going to be in the fall, and the dates this year are September 30th through October 2nd. Basically, it's on the Friday and Saturday. But if people travel for a distance, they are welcome to spend the night Saturday evening.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the schedule in a moment, but they're welcome to spend the night Saturday evening and go home Sunday. And so that's why we say through October 2nd.
Okay, I see.
But it's basically the Friday, Saturday. And then there's no lectures or anything on Sunday.
Okay.
And so it's got a new date. We've spoken about that. And it's got a new location. And so we're moving it off of campus to Mid-South Youth Camp. Mid-South Youth Camp has a new facility there with a nice cafeteria, big space. And so we're going to use that. We also have a new space out there called Grandma's Porch, which will be useful. And so we've got several nice facilities out there that we want to use. And we want to try to offer more of a retreat feel and more of an outdoor feel in the fall. And so we feel like that will be a great place for church leaders to come together, encourage one another, learn from each other, and inspire one another. And so we're excited about the new date and a new location. The new date, too, because it kind of breaks it away from lectureship.
Right.
And so we can kind of help promote lectureship and say, hey, lectureship's coming.
Yeah.
And then it also, you don't have that lectureship fatigue, or you don't have to make a choice.
Right.
Of like, all right, am I going to lectureship or church leadership workshop in the same week?
Sure.
We have them separate by several months.
It's good timing, too. I mean, the end of September, early October, again, the dates this year, September 30th through, you said October 2nd is just the Sunday if people want to hang around in the area. We'll talk about schedule, I know, more in a little while. We've got afternoon through evening activities on Friday, and then morning through the evening on Saturday. I'm just thinking this is a good time, practically speaking, for elders, deacons, ministers, just to be together, and when you start thinking about plans for the coming year, the Lord willing, in the life of the congregation. So I think it makes sense from that perspective too.
The committee thought about that, is that it kind of, churches are beginning to shift into that planning phase for 2023. And so it kind of gives them some brainstorming, kind of fodder for thought as they begin that process. And we also, one of the ideas in doing it kind of retreat feel is that some churches do leadership retreats where they get their leadership. And we would like for this to even some ways serve as a de facto one of those, because churches their leadership team, or at least as many of them as possible, can come. And we have actually built in the workshop times for them to meet together to talk about. For example, this year we're doing vision, we're doing engagement and connection, and we're doing hope, kind of restoring those things in the local church. And so there's some time built in for the leadership team to discuss these things. And if you come as an individual or as a smaller group, then we'll put you with other congregations in a smaller group to discuss that.
Okay.
When we have those workout small group sessions.
Right. Okay, that's exciting. So if you come as a group, the idea is when you're breaking out, it's just your group that's there together. Yeah, but then people who may be loners or whatever, if they're coming by themselves, they can join others and work off of one another's momentum, that kind of thing.
That's right. And it's kind of and of course, there's plenty of cabins. Yeah. And so a congregation can have their own cabin.
Wow.
If they want to do that, the men stay in one cabin. And that, so many times what happens at a retreat setting is not we have great speakers, and so I'm excited about our speakers.
Yeah.
But often some of the best things that happen are not what is said by the speakers.
Right.
It's what happens in the breaks. It's the dialogue between church leaders. It's the ideas sharing, the swapping, and it's also the discussion between congregational leaders about, hey, how can we take this back to our church? How can we apply this in our context? And hopefully in that retreat setting, we'll have time for those discussions.
Wow.
For them to happen on their own between congregational leaders.
This is neat. All right, I want to dive into the schedule just a minute, but first let's just bird's eye again, right? So the What is a church leadership workshop. This is brought to you by the Center for Excellence in Spiritual Leadership at Freed-Hardeman University, which means the cost is free.
The cost is free.
Everything is free.
And we don't know that it'll always be like that, depending on our numbers. But this year the choice was made. So that means there's no cost to attend it for the speakers in terms of paying for attending the workshop.
There's no registration fee.
No registration fee. And there's no cost for the meals. And we'll have high-quality meals as we have each year. And so there's no cost for the meals.
What about if you're staying at Mid-South?
And there's no cost for staying at Mid-South.
This is great.
Yeah, so there's no cost.
You feel like Oprah. You're just doling out free stuff.
It's free for you, free for you. Free. We debated that and discussed different things. And in the end, this year we decided just to go with the that it's free.
Yeah.
And so
You can't get a better leadership retreat deal than that. I mean, that's wonderful.
And so the only thing we're asking is, besides for people to come, is we're asking people to let us know that they're coming.
Okay.
Because we don't want to have not enough food.
Right.
And we don't want to have too much food because we will be paying for the food, obviously.
Sure.
And so we don't want to, we have plenty of housing. We expect out at Mid-South. People want to stay there. So we want people to know. We want to know, but that's not as important as the food. And so register online. You can register. The online registration is for individuals.
Okay.
And so you can register everybody online there. Or if you have a group, you can email me and say, hey, we're coming from, X Church of Christ. We're coming, and we're bringing 12 men. And we need a place to stay for Friday night and Saturday night, or just Friday night, and we're going to eat all the meals. And so we can plan.
Yeah.
So we just need people to let us know.
Gotcha. And your contact information is on the main page of this church leadership workshop, I've noticed as well. So yeah, if they want to get in touch with you, they can do that. We'll have a link to all this in the show notes for this episode at thelightnetwork.tv as well. So the overall theme is restore, and keynote speakers are going to include Bruce McClarty, David Shannon, Keith Parker, and Lovell Hayes. Does I say his name correctly?
I think it's Lavelle Hayes.
Lavelle Hayes, I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. So that's exciting. The keynote sessions, those are sort of the moments when everybody's together, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so we'll run through the schedule because it's not a long schedule.
Good.
So we have Friday, we have what we call the early bird classes. We have a 3 o'clock early bird class and a 4 o'clock early bird. First one is by David Lapp on listening to Peter on church leadership. And then we have a 4 o'clock by Donnie DeBoard on relevance of the restoration plea. And so then we have 5 o'clock move in, register, fellowship. 6 o'clock we'll have a meal together, supper. And then 6:45 is our first keynote with Bruce McClarty, the former president of Harding University. And
Minister in residence, right?
Minister in residence at Freed-Hardeman now. And just spectacular speaker and relates really well to people. And he has a lot of great thoughts on vision and has done a lot of work around that idea. And so he's going to be speaking on restoring vision. And this session will focus on the philosophical importance of vision. And so after he speaks, we'll have a class by Dr. Rick Rumbach, a teacher at Freed-Hardeman, and he's going to talk about more of the practical idea of vision in the local church. So Dr. McClarty on kind of the importance of vision, and then he'll talk about the practical idea of how we apply that in local church. And then we'll have a breakout discussion around vision where we get in groups and discuss what does vision look like in our local church.
Okay.
And
so that's the opportunity when if a group's come together, they'll have that time to sort of reflect and share and dream in a local context on what's just been discussed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about what is our vision?
Yeah.
And how do we make our vision come into a reality? And so that's the idea. And then after that, we'll just have a period of games and fellowship together and retreat feel after that. And so then it begins with breakfast on Saturday morning at 8, and then we have a keynote session with Keith Parker. And so the first Friday night was on vision, and the Saturday morning is on connection. And so restoring connection among brethren and thinking about how do we feel like some of the churches are still pretty disconnected coming after COVID and everything and trying to get back connected. And so thinking about how do church leaders facilitate this? So Keith Parker on restoring connection. And then we have break into classes, and we have 3 classes, and we have at 10 o'clock, we have our class on restoring connection amongst leaders, teamwork by Aubrey Johnson, restoring connection amongst members, fellowship by Brian Lemasters, and then we have a class on to live stream or not, thinking through your media platform by Chad Landman. And then 11 o'clock, we have an elder class on how your local church can address mental health issues by Barry England. Then we have at 11 o'clock hour, we have a deacons ministers class on dealing with stress and anxiety by James Dalton. And then we have a future leaders class on seeking godly mentors and models by Joey Sparks. That's for men that are interested in church leadership, but may not have the title of elder or deacon. We want them to feel welcome to come.
That's a good idea.
And we also want our students at Freed-Hardeman to feel like there's a place for them. So we have this future leaders class. And then we'll have a lunch, And the keynote speaker after lunch will be Lavelle Hayes on restoring engagement in the local church. So the afternoon, we'll be discussing engagement. So the first one is how we get connected to one another in the morning. And then in the afternoon, how do we get people involved or engaged in the work?
Wow.
And so the sessions around it will be the 1:30 class will be engaging future leaders. How do we multiply and increase our leaders in the church? I'll be doing that lesson. The class will be, another class option will be engaging the lost with Daniel Gaines, a missionary in residence this coming year. And then a class on engaging the detached members. How do we get the people that are just kind of on the fringe?
Yeah.
And Andrew Phillips, the preacher at the Graymere Church of Christ, will be doing that lesson. And then the 2:30 session, we'll have the elder class with Jason Lockridge, an elder at the Estes Church, talking about how to clarify and delegate tasks. And then the deacons ministers class will be how not to be a one-man ministry with Mark Blackwelder. Yeah. And then the future leaders class will be preparing yourself for future church leadership with Dr. Doug Burleson. And then at 3:30, David South is going to help lead us in a discussion about where every group that is there is able to contribute and share ideas, kind of a brainstorming session of how are you doing connection and how are you doing engagement? Yeah. And people can ask questions with, hey, this is what we're struggling with. How are you finding you're able to address that need at your congregation? And so just kind of a swapping ideas discussion session for everybody. And then we'll break back out into groups at 4:30 and have churches talk about what can we take home? What can we apply from this? And how do we want to make this look in our congregation? And then finally, we'll close at 5:30 with a evening meal, and our president, David Shannon, will close us out with restoring hope and an inspirational idea of how do we restore hope in our congregations. And so we should be done around 7. So the thought is, if churches are people are within 2 to 3 hours, they probably might want to drive home Saturday night. Right. But if they are very far away, they're welcome to spend a Saturday night and worship. Hear you preach Sunday morning.
If they're gluttons for punishment, then they can do that.
Hear you preach Sunday morning and then go back home.
If they've heard too much good preaching that weekend, so they want to come see how it's not supposed to be done.
No, not the case at all.
Well, I love how practical these topics are, and the flow of the whole retreat is really, really great. And I'm just thinking, if you're a preacher and you're listening or watching this podcast, you might even share this episode with your leadership team and say, hey, this might be a good idea. Let's put this on the calendar. All it's going to cost is our gas to get there. Yes. I mean, that's a wonderful idea. I love, too, that you've thought about it's not just those currently serving as elders or deacons or ministers, but also, guys who have an eye toward that or an aspiration toward that or are interested in being good stewards of their talents and thus to attend this leadership conference. And you've got that opportunity built in, future leaders kind of thing, which is neat.
Yes.
I think that's so needed.
And the classes it's just like any lectureship or any kind of class. We have it like elders class, deacons class, and future leaders, but we also want people to choose what topic fits them. Right. And then on the other sessions, people choose which fits them the best, and go hear that lesson and then and be able to share ideas from those.
Yeah, that is really, really neat. I love that.
Well, we have a committee of people that have helped put this together. If you on the website, it has to contact us, and you'll see the committee that helped put this together. And so you can contact me or any of these brethren on there.
Got your picture there and everything.
Got our pictures. Nice. Yeah, don't hold that against us.
That's looking good. Well, that's wonderful. So you can see the men that are behind it. You've got questions or comments. Yeah, you can reach out to those guys.
Our goal was to make it practical.
Yeah.
And our goal was to make it focused on not just the elders, but also deacons and ministers and future leaders. And so one question that we might have too, Robert, that I want to address is, is this just for men? And in the past, the leadership workshop has had ladies classes.
Okay.
But they historically have not had that many people attend them. And so this year, with moving it out to Mid-South, we decided just to do men's classes and invite men to stay out there if they want to stay. but we're certainly not saying women don't come.
Yeah.
If ladies want to come with their husbands,
Sure.
or if they have an interest in this, they're more than welcome to come out to Mid-South. But it is more focused on men getting away in a retreat-like setting.
Sure. Obviously, just guys staying in the cabin.
Just guys staying in the cabin, that kind of thing. But if someone wants to bring their wife and come down and get a hotel room and come out to all the sessions, and she wants to come, we would love to have her with us. And so we don't want it to say this is just a male-only thing.
Got it. That's great. Boy, leaders need encouragement, don't they?
They do.
And they always have, but especially after COVID in our recent history, I knew some guys who had just been appointed elders in like February of 2020, and then March hit. And they stopped by in my office and they said, we didn't know elders were going to be like, it was going to be like this, to be an elder. And I told them, I said, I don't envy any elder in the Lord's church during this time. I mean, it's unprecedented, right? At least in modern history. But no matter what you're going through, being an elder, being a deacon, being a minister, it's hard work.
It's hard work.
And to sharpen the sword's a good thing to do.
It is. And also we often are, because of the autonomous nature of our fellowship and that biblical doctrine that we believe in, we also sometimes can be islands.
That's right.
And we don't need to be an island.
Mm-hmm.
We need to encourage one another, and we need to share ideas and information with one another. And we need to say, look, this is what worked for us.
Yeah.
And this is what did not work for us.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can then learn from one another, and we can take those ideas back to our home congregation and we say, hey, this worked for them. Let's try that.
Right.
Or we can say, we've been doing this and maybe we need to make a change because it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we also can listen to different practical topics and get ideas from these speakers, and then be challenged to improve our own work. And so we all need that encouragement. And we have a lot of things sometimes for preachers, but we also need to have things for all church leaders.
That's right. Yeah. And there's just something about going on retreat together, and it solidifies your relationships together. It's going to help your synergy and the way you work together overall in the future. If your leadership team, maybe where you serve, has not taken a leadership retreat, where the guys just get together, we used to call them retreats at one place where I got to serve, but really we just met at the church building. But it was just time we had blocked off on the calendar. We were going to be together, pray together, and plan together. And that works too.
Yes.
But we need these kinds of retreats.
Yeah. From this podcast, one thing I guess we would encourage, if you can't come to this, do something.
Yeah.
As you were mentioning, do something at the church building. Do something where leaders get together outside of elders meetings.
Yes.
And have fun together and talk about things that are in a broad scope, not just what we got to do this week, who's preaching this Sunday, or who's filling in for that class, or
this problem that's just
come up. Let's talk about where we want to be in a year or two. What ministries do we need to be aiming to start?
Yes.
What do we need to be encouraging and lifting up in our church family?
And that's exciting.
That's exciting.
It sort of drives you forward, even through some of the less fun stuff.
That's right. And because we've got to do some of the things that are the reason we got into it.
Yes.
If we're always doing things that pull us down and aren't the reason we got into it, then we get discouraged and burn out. We've got to do some of the things that we believe church leaders should be doing that motivate us and help us stay connected.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we want you to be a part of the church leadership workshop happening at Mid-South Youth Camp September 30th and October 1st. That's a Friday and a Saturday. All this information is available online, fhu.edu/church-leadership-workshop. And we've got that URL as well in our show notes at thelightnetwork.tv. Just look for Preachers in Training Season 16, Episode number 4. That'd be a great way.
And we do have a Facebook event page.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's right.
You can share that. You can go there and let us know you're going. We still need you to register on the website, but that's another way to promote this and let the information out.
That's wonderful. All right. Josh Ketchum, thanks. Thanks for heading this up. This is a really neat event.
Well, thank you so much, Robert, for having me on and allowing me to talk about it. We're really excited about it. We're praying for it. Yeah. And just really appreciate the work that's been done in the past, and we hope just to build upon that and continue to allow it to grow in the future.
That's great. Pile in the church bus or carpool over to Mid-South Youth Camp this fall. That'll be great.
Yes.
2022, I should mention, in case you're listening to this later. September 30th, October 1st, 2022.
That's right.
That's really good.
Get a new date for 2023.
That's
Lord willing,
right.
it'll be happening.
Yeah, probably the same web address, so
Yes.
that it'll be there. That's great. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Thank you for being a part of this edition of Preachers in Training. Hope you'll join us next week. But until then, I'm Robert Hatfield. And let's go preach the word.
Amen.